Hello and welcome to my WAI Ripples of Impact. Tēnā koutou. Ka reri taku manu ki te poho o tamatia te maunga. Ka reri taku manu ki whakaropo te moana. Ko ohinetahi te whenua tupu. Kei ototahi au e noho ana. Ko Radcliffe-Price, tōku ingoa. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. I am an RTLB at Te Huranui Cluster 36, based in the Selwyn district of Canterbury. I'm in my second year of the role and my first year of study for Resource Teacher of Learning and Behaviour. Our practice covers a really large geographical catchment. We go as far down as Hynes in the south and as far up as Horsell in the north, right across to Mount Somers and Mount Hutt area and across the other side to Akaroa and Banks Peninsula. I am the liaison RTLB for two schools, Taitapu and Prebbleton. Over the past year, I've been working in kura all the way from Hynes up to Horsell and many in between. My casework is varied with a number of different types of casework, some learning and behaviour, some whole school systems work such as PB4L and ESOL, as well as groups of kaiako and individual students. So my learning that I've chosen for my WAI is around specialist teaching, and this module that I chose was broken into three themes: models, theories and frameworks, assessment and instruction. The module and the three themes offered several significant learnings that have deepened my understanding of literacy development and reinforced key aspects of my RTLB practice. First key insight relates to how readers move from decoding unfamiliar words to recognising them instantly. Readers draw on three main word identification strategies to work out unfamiliar words: decoding, which involves blending individual sounds together; analogy, which uses known word patterns to work out new but similar words; and prediction, which combines initial letters with context and visual cues. Through repeated practice, saying words aloud and connecting their spelling, pronunciation and meaning, readers gradually build what is known as orthographic mapping. This was a valuable reminder that fluent reading is not simply about memorising whole words. Rather, it's the product of a gradual, systematic mapping process that underpins both spelling and comprehension. This has real implications for how I support learners who are still developing these connections. Second significant learning came from reconnecting what makes structured literacy distinct as an instructional approach. Structured literacy relies on direct, carefully sequenced teaching that builds learners from foundational letter-sound relationships towards more complex language skills. What stood out to me in particular was the emphasis on cumulative review and consistent teacher-student interaction, both of which ensure that skills are genuinely consolidated over time rather than simply introduced and then left unpracticed. This reinforced my understanding of why explicit teaching matters so much in this context. Structured literacy does not assume that students will absorb literacy concepts naturally through general exposure. Instead, it requires teachers to actively model and directly teach each skill step by step. The third takeaway was an affirmation of the value of movement, a multimodal approach to learning. Hands-on activities and gestures are highly effective ways to deliver content while also making learning more engaging and enjoyable for learners. Just as importantly, they give learners something concrete to anchor their understanding to, which can be especially valuable for those who find abstract literacy concepts difficult to grasp. Bringing all of these learnings together, this module has offered a clear and practical instructional implications for my role as RTLB. I work closely with learners who experience difficulty with literacy, as well as with kaiako who support them day to day. The explicit teaching principles, the understanding of orthographic mapping, and the value of multimodal hands-on approaches all give me stronger tools to take into my practice, both in directly supporting mokopuna and guiding kaiako towards more effective structured literacy teaching practice. So my application to practice my mata. As part of my current casework, I am working alongside kaiako and kaiawhina on structured literacy. Together, we're looking at how to deliver reading and writing effectively, following a clear scope and sequence, and identifying ways to accelerate progress for some learners. Part of this work involves professional development that I'm taking with them around effective teaching practice and writing, and how to engage learners more fully in the process. We're looking closely at the New Zealand curriculum scope and sequence in phase 1 for years 0 to 2 and aligning our practice with that framework. At the same time, we're also cross-referencing the school's structured literacy providers' content so that everything we deliver sits within a consistent, coherent program rather than several disconnected approaches. This work is in its early stages, and I will continue throughout the remainder of the year. So to inform this process, I'm drawing on a range of resources, including the work of Dr. Helen Walls, the writing teacher, and Dr. Christine Braid. One area we're exploring in depth is the gradual release of responsibility model, commonly known as I do, we do, you do, and what this looks like in day-to-day practice. This approach scaffolds learning and supports understanding by gradually shifting responsibility from the teacher to the student. The teacher begins by modelling a skill explicitly, then works alongside the learner as they practice it together before finally stepping back so that students can apply the skill independently. Done well, this gives learners the confidence and competence to work without prompting, while still allowing the teacher to intervene early if misunderstandings appear. We're also exploring meaningful literacy-based activities that learners can access independently to practice and revisit skills that they have already been taught. The aim for this follow-up activity is to genuinely embed learning rather than simply keep students occupied. To support this, we're using a multimodal approach built on the idea that the way we physically move and interact with the world shapes how we think and understand it. When learners gesture, move, handle materials, they're not just making a lesson more engaging on the surface, they're activating physical and sensory systems that help ideas stick. And this kind of embodied engagement tends to boost motivation more than verbal instruction on its own. Another strand of our work is assessment for learning. Helen Walls promotes a model of fast feedback for writers built around ongoing formative assessment. Walls describes feedback as powerful for learning generally, but especially important for writing because it strengthens students' self-awareness, a quality that's integral to self-regulation. Teaching that incorporates fast formative feedback has been shown to have positive effects in both achievement and motivation. And it offers busy teachers a practical way of accommodating a wide range of learning needs within one classroom. A key principle underpinning fast feedback is that goals must be taught explicitly, and learners cannot act on feedback effectively if they don't first understand what they're working towards. Taken together, these strands, scope and sequence, alignment, gradual release of responsibility, meaningful multimodal follow-up activities, and fast formative feedback form the foundation of the literacy work we are building together with kaiako and kaiawhina this year. And you can see on my screen there that there are a few resources that we are using to do that work. I've sourced some really instructional videos from Helen Walls. We've got the colourful cards that we use for our writing sequencing. I've created a phoning fingers poster to help sound out words and recognise sounds. And there are some other resources there that we're using for our practice. So finally, the ripples of impact. Through this piece of mahi, though this piece of mahi is still in its early stages, I'm already seeing impact of the work that Kaiako and I have been doing together. During my last 2 monitoring observations for this case, I have seen Kaiako confidently implementing the strategies we've been working on and putting them in place. The first one is the gradual release of responsibility. Kaiako is now explicitly teaching the learning context and content or skill. For example, sentence structure and identifying the who and the do within a sentence. Kaiako is using hand actions, the colour coding system, and inspiration such as storybooks to model and teach how to construct a sentence correctly. This follows a clear I do, we do, you do progression. Kaiako demonstrates the first skill, then Kaiako and the students work through it together, and finally the students are given the opportunity to practice it independently. This gradual handover is giving learners the scaffolding they need before being asked to apply the skill on their own, which is a real shift from where the practice was at the start of this mahi. The second area is the multimodal approach to teaching. Kaiako is using movement, props, hand gestures, and sometimes songs to teach and embed learning. Follow-up activities are being implemented that include a variety of sensory inputs and outputs, such as manipulating materials, listening to stories, and recording learning in different ways. This means learners are no longer relying on a single mode of input to access the content. They are seeing it, they're hearing it, they're saying it, they're doing it, which is particularly valuable for our at-risk and diverse learners. The third area and ripple of impact is assessment. Kaiako has started to set up fast feedback within their classroom program, which is providing ongoing formative feedback to learners in real time. This allows misunderstandings to be picked up and addressed quickly rather than waiting until the end of the task or the end of the writing unit. Together, these changes are having a ripple effect across the classroom. Learners are engaging with learning more authentically and are able to practice using the multimodal approach rather than simply completing worksheets. We're also starting to see some small gains in progress for a number of the at-risk learners who are now able to form a sentence on their own and record the who and the do using correct sentence structure and punctuation. While it's still early days, these are encouraging signs that the strategies we have put in place are beginning to take hold, and I look forward to continuing to monitor and support the progress moving forward. Thank you for watching my presentation.